Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast. My name's Rory Podcap. You guys already know that, don't you? Yes, you do. After all these episodes and all this time, you guys have been so incredibly loyal that you know who I am and why I'm here. But I'm going to remind you anyway. Folks, we are here to bring you yet another fantastic guest. We are here to talk to husbands, fathers, men who are going through life, struggling, fighting hard, grinding, looking for something that's better, trying to be better men tomorrow than we are today. That's what we do. And the reason that we do it is because our families are the most important thing in the world to us, and we're never going to let anything get in the way of that. So here we are today. We have a fantastic guest for you today, and I'm gonna let him tell you a little bit about him. You do have to be prepared. He does, look like he's 12, but he's actually a lot older than he looks. I vetted him beforehand just to make sure,
Yeah.
and you guys are gonna love it. But hey, if you guys are friends of the program, and I know you are at this point, before we do that, we have to pay a couple bills. So I think it's time for me to take a sip of my what? Yep, my preferred beverage. Oh, you guys all know what it is right there. Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. They do all the right things for all the right reasons. They brew a mean bean. They support veterans, which is why we support them. And you all know how important supporting veterans is to the Power Man podcast. Folks, go check them out at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Tell them Power of Man sent you. All right, one more of those. I'm going to have trouble keeping up with this youngster today.
Not with that caffeine.
There we go. All right. He's already busting me about my caffeine. I haven't even gotten to the podcast yet. All right. Gentlemen and ladies, because we do have a bunch of you ladies listening right now. Folks, let's welcome to the podcast CEO of Next Level University, Alan Lazaros. How you doing?
I am doing very well. First of all, great intro.
Oh,
Strong work. As a fellow
thanks.
podcaster, you got a voice for podcasting for sure. I can't match that deep voice, but I can hang in the conversation. No, seriously, I'm very, very grateful to be here. And I don't take it lightly, and I won't waste a second of anyone's time because, quite frankly, what you are feeding your mind, I believe, is dictating a lot of your future. So, anyone who is listening to this, the whole be a better man tomorrow than you are today, I mean, that's really why I'm here. And I'm grateful I consider you an ally in the mission to spread self improvement. So, thank you for having me.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that. That means a lot. All right. Did I get your last name right? I can't believe I didn't check that in the pre-interview. We were talking so much. I always double check last name. Is it Lazaris?
It's Lazarus, but no
Oh,
stress.
no.
Hey, no stress. The world does not revolve around my last name. We're
All
good.
right. Well, it's a thing for me. So I want to make sure
Okay.
I got that right. Alan Lazarus.
Nice.
Okay. Excellent. Folks, it's Alan Lazarus today. And please accept my apologies. I'm embarrassed. I always check that ahead of time. And I'm a little off my game today. I had to go to the
No,
dentist this morning, so it messed me up. I'm in my head. I hate doctors. You guys all know how it works. So,
the dentist. That'll do it. That'll do it. All right.
yeah.
And
All
no
right.
stress. Seriously, no stress. All good.
Okay, good deal. Alan, now, I know you've got a story. You've been in business for a very long time. You're helping, I mean, thousands and thousands of men out there. You got a very successful business going, but this all, came from a humble start and you kind of, waking up to what you wanted to pursue with your life, right?
Yeah. So the start was tough, and I don't think I really understood how tough until later on. So I started doing a lot of therapy in my 30s, and I started sort of rewatching the movie of my own life. And I think that all of us should try to do that because it's like when you see a movie as a kid and then you see it again as an adult and you go, okay, got it, got it, got it. Now I get that. Now I get that. And so at the beginning, you don't really know any different, but later on, you look back and it's okay, interesting. So that's, I guess, not normal. So the rough start started with my birth father, 1991. I was 2 years old. Passed away in a car accident. He was 28. Yeah, he was 28. John
Sorry, man.
McCorkle. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. John McCorkle was my dad. Jim, Joe, John, Jane, Joan, Jeanette. So 6 kids, big Irish Catholic family, the McCorkle family. And John died when he was 28, and I didn't really ever know him. I had an older sister who was 6. My mom was 31 at the time. She was a stay-at-home mom. He was the breadwinner. And then my stepfather came into the picture. So my stepfather, Steve Lazarus, he came in from age 3 to 14. And then at 14, so I playfully refer to 3 to 14 as Boats and BS. And the reason why is because my mom and stepdad, first of all, it was the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, and it was .com bubble. He worked for a company called AGFA, AGFA, and they did hospital computers. And we were in Massachusetts. So the U.S. largest economy in the world by a pretty significant margin still, but back then big time in the .com bubble. And so everybody back then, I'm sure you remember this, had, not everybody, but a lot of money. There was a lot of expansion, a lot of money. I mean, so we had, boats and ski trips and that kind of thing. We had a yacht. And when my stepdad left, from the outside looking in, we looked like the rich family, one of the rich families. And from the inside out, my mom and stepdad did not get along, and that's a polite way to put it. So it's that sort of thing. But then my stepdad leaves, takes 95% of the income with him. And I go from boats and ski trips so he gets the apartment building and the yacht. We get the house and the dog. And now I get free lunch at high school because our income is so low.
Wow.
And I go from, I hope I get into college. My dream college was WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. It's a really famous engineering school in Massachusetts, like a mini MIT.
Yeah.
But it's $50,000 a year, and this is back then. So I go from I hope I get in, because it's a really hard school to get into, to even if I do get in, I can't go. Then, so I realize this now, and I didn't understand this at the time, so this was all unconscious. But I was a young man, 14 years old, freshman in high school. Stepfather leaves. We don't really associate much with the McCorkles anymore back then because we were sort of being the Lazaroses. Same year, my mom gets in a fight with my Aunt Sandy, her sister. We get ostracized from that side of the family. Same year, sister moves out with her older boyfriend. So now it's just me and my mom in that house, kind of by ourselves. To this day, I have never seen or spoken to anyone from my stepfather's side, and only 2 human beings from my mom's side. And again, didn't know this at the time because you don't know any different, right? Just a kid. Kind of lost 3 families by the time I'm 14 years old. I still have only seen 2 people from my mom's side to this day. Now, we've reconnected a lot with the McCorkles because we just did over the time, and that's all good, but it was kind of never the same. So here's my sort of point, and this is something that I hope will resonate with your listeners. So there's 4 trauma responses if you research this. The ones we all know is fight and flight.
Okay.
The ones we don't usually know is freeze and fawn. You can look these up. My trauma response at 14 to all of that abandonment was twofold. Number 1, abandonment was a fear, so like I kind of fawn. So fawn means fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawn means you become this sort of social coward who is always appeasing everybody. Fit in, belong. Right. You kind of manufacture belonging because you don't want to get any more abandonment. So hang on to friends and family was kind of my trauma response, socially. But behind the scenes when no one was watching, and this is the part that I know will resonate with some of your listeners for sure, it was fight. Aim higher, work harder, get smarter. Aim higher, work harder, get smarter. Aim higher, work harder, get smarter. So I became this sort of hurt, semi-wounded, super achiever guy. And I have all these awards on my background here, which I know comes off pretentious probably, but I got straight A's through all of high school. Got the President's Award behind me, signed by George W. Bush. That's how few people get it. And I got into WPI, and I got all the financial aid and scholarships that I possibly could. And I got my computer engineering bachelor's, my master's in business, and then I was off to the races. And I went from a broke high school and college kid to a 1% earner within my early 20s. Global earner, not U.S. earner, because U.S. is much higher, but global earner. So I got to almost $200,000 a year, and I'm in my early 20s, and I'm used to being broke. I live with my girlfriend at the time on a lake, $500 rent. I drive a 2004 Volkswagen Passat that I bought in $5,000 cash. I paid off $84,000 worth of college debt in a single year back in 2014. I have $150,000 in a Vanguard account, just stocks and stuff, and I was kind of a techie, so I kind of knew what to pick. And I didn't realize any of this was weird, by the way, until later. And so then I get in my car accident. So the 3 pivotal moments in my life birth father dies at 2, stepfather leaves at 14. I look into the future. I go, okay, no trust fund, no generational wealth, like no dad. We're in some trouble here. So I become this sort of super achiever, save my family guy. Then I get in my car accident, 26 years old. My fault. Crossed the double yellows. Thank you, Volkswagen, for the safest freaking car ever. The Volkswagen Passat definitely saved my life. I used to call this car the tank. Thank goodness. Wow. Head-on collision. Crossed the double yellows, head-on collision, dark winter night in 2015. The airbags deploy. I'm with my second cousin, one of the 2 people that came back from my mom's side, with my second cousin, little cousin Dan. Both airbags deploy. He hurt his knee on the airbag. I hurt my face in the airbag. But for me, physically we're okay. But this was my sort of quarter-life existential crisis of this is the second chance my dad never got. And that was 10 years ago now. So I'm 36 now. That was at 26. And that was when I found, so there's that quote of some people have a job, some people have a career, other people have a calling.
Yeah.
That's when I found my calling. And for me, my calling is what I talked to you about off air, which is spreading self-improvement. Because growing up, I had no male role model. I mean, there was no self-improvement to be found, seriously, to an alarming extent. And now I'm hopefully becoming the male role model I never had, as I know you are. And I don't know your background necessarily, but I know that you're a male role model to many people. And I'm trying to lead by example now. And so that's really my story. And the best way I can describe it now, last piece, before the car accident, I was externally successful and internally unfulfilled. After the car accident, I flipped the script and I went for internal fulfillment. And I sort of hoped success would be a byproduct. And eventually it was, but I went way past broke, liquidated all my assets, started my own company, what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know, Lazaros LLC. And I went broke, and here we are 8 years later into Next Level University, and now we're both fulfilled and successful, which is very hard to do, actually, like really hard. It took me till my 30s to do it. And I think the reason why is because, and I do this with people now as a coach and a trainer and a podcaster, what the economy pays a lot for is very rarely what's meaningful work. It's very hard to align your most meaningful work with what pays a lot. And I think that's why most of us are either fulfilled or successful. It's very hard to do both.
I could not agree more. That's something that we all struggle with, especially the folks who listen to our program. And they're all nodding their heads right now going, yep, exactly.
Nice.
Got to pay the bills, or can I feel good about what I'm doing?
Right? Yeah, and there is a way to integrate it, but it's tough, really tough. Yeah.
Well, first, let me say congratulations on all of this, because, I mean, that's one hell of a story, to come through. Let me unpack a little bit of this, if you don't mind. I'm curious. You took your stepfather's last name.
Yeah. So when I was around 7, I think, 6 or 7, my mom gave me the choice. She said, do you want to take our last name to kind of be the Lazaroses with us? And again, I don't know. I'd have to talk to her about it, but I think it was a choice.
At
right?
7, that's hard to say.
Yeah,
7
exactly.
years old.
Yeah, and I did. I decided to do it, but I didn't know, what I was doing necessarily. And I've thought about going back too, but I don't really want to do that either necessarily. I feel like it's a part of me. My story is a part of me. I've evolved so much. I'm big on growth and evolution. I'm Alan version 3.6. I'm 36. Right. And I'm a computer engineer, by the way. I need to, forgive me for that, everybody, because everything's numbers. But I'm Alan version 3.6, and, I'm way smarter than Alan version 2.6, but not as smart as hopefully Alan version 4.6. So I'm just trying to get better every single day, and I help others do the same. And I just want to reach my potential, so.
Well, thanks for indulging me on that question.
Of course.
And, the real point is that it's your name now. My sons grew up talking about how, our last name was my name. And it was for a long time. And they grew up understanding that they represented our name as a family, my name as their father. But it didn't take very long. I'm an empty nester, so they're all, they're all 20 or older now. And
nice.
I had this conversation with both my boys that it's your name now. So what you do with it is up to you, and you get to go make it now. And nice. Alan, that's you, man. And you're making that name something serious from what I can tell. Thank
you so much. Thank you. And it means, I think, what do you stand for is a great question to ask yourself for everybody. And I've asked myself that a lot over the years. And for me, it's someone who who I have it written to reach my own unique potential. Unique is underlined, and help others do the same. Everything else is secondary. Period. Like, that's it. That's what I stand for. And I used to be a wandering generality who was at every barbecue and who everybody liked. And, I just, after 26, I realized that's a terrible idea. And while I'm certainly not nearly as liked or likable or relatable as I used to be, I'm fulfilled internally, and I'm far more successful in, I think, what matters. But I used to be lost for sure.
You're not alone in that aspect. Let me ask you this then, because I know you have a podcast and you have your Next Level University.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what this is all geared towards? Is the process that you went through over the last 10 years?
Yeah, I think in many ways. So you and I talked about my business partner, Kevin Palmieri. So real quick, and again, the backstory is kind of cool. In hindsight, it's 2020, right? Even though at the time we didn't really understand any of this, but we used to spend every Father's Day together. And the reason why is because, so his father, he didn't meet till he was 27. He didn't have a dad. He and I were both raised by two women. So I was raised by my mom and my older sister, mostly because my stepdad and I didn't really get along much. And he was raised by his mom and his Mima. And we both grew up in the same small town in Massachusetts, small town, small mind kind of thing. And we went to the same high school. We were friends in middle school, went to the same high school. He didn't like me in high school. He thought I was arrogant. I thought he was insecure. Both were true.
Okay.
A couple wounded men, right?
Right.
And then in our 20s, we reconnected. He had a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast, Change the Way You Think, Change the Way You Act, Change the Way You Live, a couple bodybuilders. And I had the Conversations Change Lives podcast. And then we teamed up, had the worst titled podcast of all time. It was the Conversations Change Lives meets Hyperconscious Podcast. Not great. And then we went all in on Hyperconscious. We rebranded to Next Level You. But ultimately, I do think, to answer your question, on the deeper level, and we do an event every Father's Day for kids of single parents. It was just for kids without fathers at the beginning, but then we wanted to open it up. And we rent out the YMCA. And we've spent every Father's Day together for 8 years because that was a traditionally sad day for us. And we made it really special. And I think that we're trying to be the male role models we never had. Yeah.
Nice. And that's a totally natural thing to end up with. I can completely see how you would both land there. Wow. And now you're teaching other people. I know you teach everybody, but on this program especially, we're talking about, fathers and husbands. And so even though you're not either one yet, you're a lot older than you look, and you have a lot of experience in this realm. And so, you've worked with a lot of the people that are listening right now, those types of folks. What can you tell fathers and husbands about, leveling up when they feel a lot like I think you guys have, at some point where, I'm grinding, I'm putting in the work, I'm being a good man, I'm being a good father, I'm doing everything I can do, I'm paying the bills and bringing home the bacon, but man, this sucks. Man, if this is it, then I guess this is it. But, wow. My whole work life is just awful, and I'm doing it all for the people that mean the most to me in the whole world. What can you say to them about how to even get started?
Well, the first thing to say is good for you, because I think that taking on responsibility for more than just yourself is how a man grows. And again, I have my beautiful girlfriend, Emilia, and I, we have 3 businesses between the two of us. I have a 17-person team. She has a team, right? And then we have kind of a co-team. And then we have Tucker Tilly Tau. So we have a dog and 2 cats, and we have a home together, right? So the more, Tucker Tilly Tau, the more that I grow as a man, the more responsibility you can handle. And then the more responsibility you handle, the more you grow as a man, assuming you have high self-belief. If you struggle with self-belief, it can be alarmingly devastating to take on so much, right? I have a 17-person team. You want to talk about responsibility? Like, we pay them every month, and if I don't succeed, their families don't have money. So, right. And that's like so it's just another level. And I know that when we have children, and Emilia and I are already talking, we're planning on all these things, marriage, kids, all that, and we're kind of planning it out to the best of our ability. Obviously, anything can happen, right? But I'm preparing now to be the man who can be a great dad, because And she's more conscious about this than I am. We have a podcast together called the Conscious Couples Podcast, which is how do you flourish in your intimate relationship? And we're already talking about a podcast we're going to have in the future called the Conscious Parenting Podcast. So we're going to take people on the journey of what it's like to build a family and kind of that thing. And so I don't like to speak from this place of I've arrived and you're, learning from me. So here's where I used to be, here's where I am now, and here's what made the difference. I think that a lot of personal development people need to do that. I do understand. But I am only 36. I'm still a young leader, and I've learned a lot. I also want to share this as well. So coaching, training, podcasting at this stage is kind of all that I do, and I'm coming up on my 10,000 hours of coaching, training, and podcasts, and we just surpassed our 2,000th episode at NLU. Now, the reason I say that is not to brag. It's so that people know I'm not just talking. Right? Because when I look 12, I got to give all these disclaimers. But the one thing that I would say to everyone out there struggling, to the question you originally asked, is good on you for taking responsibility, because I don't think there's enough celebration for that. Because if you're grinding and you're putting in the work, to me, these are the 3 character traits that I think are the most valuable. The first one is self-belief. I think that's the most important by far, because if you don't believe in yourself, you will feel stuck. And you can build it too. We can talk about that. The second one is humility, inward humility. And I had the first one and not the second one when I was younger, because they usually don't walk hand in hand. It's very hard to have both of those simultaneously. I mean, we got our biggest client last week that we've ever had. I mean, it's a big enough client, and it's a ton of work too, by the way, but it's a big enough client to where it would be most people's whole salary. And I told Kev, I said, dude, it has nothing to do with what we did this week. That's the compound effect of the last 8 years. Do not step off the gas. Okay? You cannot, neither one of us, we're not going to go buy a car. Okay? We're just going to, right? We're going to keep grinding. Yeah. So humility needs to be there, because the moment you lose that, the world will come and hit you in the head with a brick. And then the third one is work ethic. I mean, I think that to an alarming extent, and someone who's older would probably agree with this, the work ethic of the younger generation is alarming to me. And I'm an American, I get it, and I know I work with people all over the world, right? So a lot of people see Americans as very entitled. And a lot of Americans are, quite frankly. It is what it is, okay? That's what happens with abundance. I don't have any of that shit. Like, I work 7 days a week for the last 10 years. And so I'm not going to sit here and say, make sure you have work-life balance and make sure you take time for you and all that. I do agree that you need to take care of your health. You got to take care of the asset. And I do think that your work needs to be meaningful to you, and you got to work your way to try to make your work meaningful. However, if you're out there grinding and paying your bills and taking care of your family, my first thing to say to you is good for you. And I think that needs to be more celebrated, because particularly in the 21st century with all this YouTube, self-discipline doesn't work, and the 4-hour work week. And I mean, that is some nonsense, straight up. That is some straight up nonsense, because the people I know who have a real business that really make it, that have actual money instead of renting a Ferrari, those people are grinding. And I promise you they are, despite what you see on their social media.
Love that. Love that. That's great. Renting a Ferrari, especially. No, I know where you're going. And of course, that's what everybody sees, and so they go, oh, well, they're playing the comparison game, and they're saying, well, I'm not as successful as whatever it is they're seeing out there. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of really, really good men that are just going to work every day, coming home, bringing a paycheck home, and just wish things could get better,
Yeah.
So,
well, that's who I'm rooting for right there. And obviously you are too, and good for them. Yeah, good for them.
Well, so tell me about the podcast then. The podcast is designed to help people get through this, expose them to new ideas. Give me an idea of what, if they tune into that, what are they expecting?
It's the high level sort of tagline is 1% improvement from anywhere on the planet in your pocket, completely free. 1% per day. So the idea isn't to have overnight success. It's, what if you get a little bit better each day? It compounds. So if you can get 1% better each day, you end up 37 times better at the end of the year. And if you do that for another year, you end up 37 times better than that. And so Kev's the best example of this, because he really came from nothing. I'm talking blue collar, no dad, didn't meet his dad till he was 27, and they didn't have any money. He's the first person in his entire extended family to even consider college. He didn't end up going, but he's the first real business owner in his family. And he's really made it in a big way. We both have, compared to where we came from. Again, it's all relative, right? Amazon makes more in a day than we make all year, but you understand.
Right.
But it's cool to see. I was at his wedding, and I was really crying at the first dance. And his best friend Matt came over to me, close friend of mine from the past as well. And he gave me a sort of handkerchief. He's like, "Here, man, here." And the reason I was crying, and I tried to explain this to Kev later, is because this dude could have been nothing. I mean, seriously, like when you hear his story, and if you do have him on the show, I mean, he easily could have been nothing. I mean, he never thought he was good enough. He didn't go to college. He wasn't the straight A student, super genius guy, like I kind of was a little bit. Like I understand that I had it hard, but I also am like one of those sort of, you're not really allowed to say this, so disclaimer, I'm just being very transparent and vulnerable here. I'm the kid who like most stuff came easy to.
Okay.
Yeah. And like high school, for example, like the straight A's wasn't that hard for me. I academically just very gifted. But for Kev, that dude was just the blue collar, sort of humble work ethic dude who just had the humility to get around the right people and have the right mentors. And I'm just so proud of him. So the podcast is Next Level You, pun intended. Don't be us. We're on a growth journey just like you are, 2,000 episodes, and it's every single day. Half hour a day, every day, just improve health, wealth, life, and love. Holistic, wholesome improvement. And wholesome and holistic are not typically words that men use.
Not
I mean,
at all.
we both, right. And so I think that a man who's wholesome and holistic, I mean, that's an enviable thing, I think. And that's what we stand for. That's what we're trying to stand for, right? Being good men means you work on yourself every single day. So you work hard at your job, and that's great. And I applaud that 1,000 times. But you got to work as hard on yourself. And that's what we hopefully are standing for and leading by example.
I like the way you're explaining that. The wholesome, I think everybody kind of gets, in terms of how that may apply. Holistic is one of those words where some guys take that as kind of like a little woo-woo. And then some guys take that, and I don't mean anything disparaging by it, but that's just how they look at it. They don't understand it, especially. And some guys look at that and go, oh, it's like all natural health stuff, or there's very little solid definition of holistic in terms of the average blue-collar guy on the street, who's out there working every day and coming home with a check. The way you just used it, I thought it was very basic and broken down. I liked it a lot. Can you explain to anybody listening what holistic means to you in that sense that you just used it?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that question. I spoke at my alma mater last week. It was a group of engineers. This is the first exposure to business they've kind of ever had, engineers, that kind of thing. And holistic, I'm realizing there is that connotation. Mm-hmm. So what I mean specifically by holistic, and I tried to explain this to them as well, is health, wealth, and love. And I can break each category down. So health is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And I think wholesome comes to mind when you think of that.
Okay.
Right? Physically healthy, mentally healthy. For men, emotionally healthy. Like I have a therapist named Carol. Okay, I have to be emotionally well. I mean, especially with my childhood. I didn't tell you half of it. I got some stuff to work through, right? And yeah, it gave me drive and grit, but it also, that can also drive me off a cliff if I'm not careful. And then spiritual too, whatever that means to you. So that's health. Wealth is how much you earn, but more importantly, how you earn it. So I love one-on-one coaching. I coach 20 people. 3 of them are 3 times a week. We're behind the scenes doing this work. I love it. Now, do I always want to do it? No. You don't know you love something because you always want to do it. You know you love something because you're always glad you did.
Nice.
So it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling work.
Nice.
And so it's not just how much do I make, it's how meaningful is the work. And then is it increasing or decreasing over time? And then most importantly is where do you invest it? Not consumer. Where are you investing? Where are you investing your time, your effort, and your money? That's where real wealth is built. And I know you know that. Okay. And then love. This one was the hard one for me. And I think this is sort of my thesis, but I think everyone is either really good at success or really good at relationships. It's very hard to be good at both. And maybe that's just me projecting as an engineer. Because as a numbers thinker who calculates everything, I'm not the most relatable guy, right? Even though I used to try to be with my abandonment problems. So for me, relationships were always a struggle. It's like, why doesn't anybody like me? I don't understand. Like, what is the deal, right? And then I met Kevin. I realized, okay, that's why no one likes me. So he's relatable and fun and funny, and I'm like the super achiever guy who everyone thinks is a Spock-like butthead. But ultimately, love is intimate relationship first, immediate family, friends, mentors, mentees, clients, customers, that whole thing. Community, whatever your community means to you. We have a Next Level Nation community of people that are all like-minded. You have your own community of men. And that's a big deal because when that bucket's whole, you can now, you can achieve more. So now here's the problem, and I'll give you guys the math, and then I'll let you ask the next question. Health, wealth, and love, because I had mentors in the past, right? I was very successful in corporate. I'm very grateful for that. I had a ton of coaches and mentors. I always say playfully, if you want a coach or a mentor, you probably need a therapist. If you want a therapist, you probably need a coach or a mentor. It's a playful. Everyone should get both. Because Kev wanted a therapist, desperately needed a mentor or a coach. I wanted coaches and mentors, but I desperately needed a therapist. So it's kind of that playful inner outer thing. But I had a bunch of mentors and coaches. And I'm talking, and again, all of them multimillionaires, okay? One of them was the CEO of $1 billion robotics company. I'll keep it anonymous. And when you spend time with these people, you realize they're brilliant and they're hardworking and they're inwardly humble even though they come off arrogant. Fair. I do too. I get it. But then you realize, okay, they are divorced and wildly unfulfilled, right? Not always, but almost always. And you start to go, okay, if I don't want to be my boss's boss's boss, I'm in some trouble here. I'm climbing the wrong mountain because I don't even want to get to the top of this thing. Now, easy for me to say as a CEO of my own company. Okay, so I am the CEO, so I get it. But I realized very early on that I don't want to end up rich and unhealthy. And I don't want to end up healthy but broke. And I don't want to end up healthy and wealthy but not in love. And I tell Emilia this all the time because statistically speaking, I'm a big math guy. I say, sweetheart, we need to be humble in this because the divorce rate is above 50% in the US. And then the percent of businesses that succeed, I mean, us winning together in marriage and in business is a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. I mean, we need to be humble. I say this to her all the time. I say, I do not want to end up at the top of this mountain not in love. No matter what. Like, this relationship matters to me more than getting to the top of this mountain. And I think that if I do that right, we'll still get to the top of the mountain. But ultimately, health, wealth, and love, I'll give you the numbers. If you're 1 out of 100 in health, 1 out of 100 in wealth, 1 out of 100 in love, meaning top 1%, that's 1 in a million right there. 1 over 100 times 1 over 100 times 1 over 100 is 1 in a million. And that's why it's so damn hard. And that's why you see these people who are really uber successful in their sort of narrow industry who are divorced and out of shape or whatever, because it's very hard to do both. To do all three it's alarmingly difficult, but I do think it's worth it. And I do think long term it can be a really good thing.
Wow. I mean, that's quite the answer, man. I appreciate that a lot. And you said a ton. I do. You don't come across as arrogant, first of all. So let's just clear the air on that.
Thank you.
But you do. You definitely come across with. You like to drop those little, sarcastic anecdotes as you go. Just like everybody thinks I am, and you keep on moving. That's. We're catching all those, okay? So
Okay.
all this is going to your therapist when we're over because you got to work on that stuff. All that self-deprecating little stuff in the middle there. You're giving away pearls and then you knock yourself down. Don't do that. Come on, man.
I appreciate you.
Way too strong for that. But
thank you.
very interesting, and I can see only because of what I've been through personally. And I know you don't know my story, and I won't bore you with it, but it's got a lot of similarities. But I've also got another couple of decades of work that I've put in that you haven't had to do yet. So good luck, and you'll get through them better than I did, I'm sure. But I can see where you are and why the relationship matters so much, especially given what you've been through. And that abandonment is something that a lot of us in these spots, in these seats, have been through. So you're definitely not alone with that. A lot of us went through that stuff. And I think that's why we're out here, because we know what it's like to have to go through that alone.
Well,
And
that's the
so,
worst.
again, I want to applaud you on that, because just to be able to say, hey, this was one of the most hurtful times in my whole life. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, so that I can help you guys get through this, is gigantic. And there's not enough of us doing stuff like that. So thanks for putting yourself out there for every man who hears what you have to say and goes, yeah, me too. But he gets to say it quietly because you're not.
Yeah, thank you, Rory. I
So,
appreciate it. It's taken me many years to be able to have the courage to share a lot of this. And I do want to make that as clear to anyone out there who's listening who would have a hard time on a public medium sharing this kind of stuff. I highly recommend. That's why therapy is so powerful, because you get to talk about it with someone in a private setting
yeah,
where they're obligated and licensed to keep it private. And I think that that's really important, because what you don't express, it's very hard to work on something that is just stuck all in you, in your body and in your mind. And it's been transformative as hell. So the men with therapists thing is just really important. And again, my beautiful girlfriend, she has a company called Evolve Ventures, and I am actually coaching her business partner in business. And so it's been super transformative. So I think some people, go for coaching, go for success, go for goals, metrics, habits, all that, and that's great. But if you do want to work on the inner stuff, I feel like that's more transformative in some ways when it comes to relationships. Because what you realize too is a lot of these type A superachievers are very unhealed, including myself in the past. Right? So they're not necessarily bad people, but they're definitely people who bad things have happened to.
yeah,
And a lot of that stuff's still stuck in them, and breath work and therapy and this kind of stuff I'll be very transparent, Rory. I was afraid to lose my edge. Emilia, she had been doing therapy since she was 12, and she's trauma certified and all this stuff. And her company, she has Evolve Therapy. It's a branch of her company, and they do therapy. And so she said she's the one who suggested therapy to me when I met her 5 years ago. Not you are broken, you need fixing, but you're the most amazing man I've ever met. I love you. You're leaving opportunity on the table by not doing this work. And I did. I reached out to someone from my school who I had interviewed years ago on the podcast, and she's my therapist to this date. Her name's Carol. But I was so scared to lose my edge. I was driven, man. I mean, I had an edge. I am so freaking driven. And I dial a lot of that down. That's why you said I was self-deprecating, because I do feel like I'm too much for people. Let's be real. I'm not the fun guy at the barbecue. But I was afraid to lose that drive. And that was my actual fear about therapy. Now, here's what I want to give everybody, because I genuinely was like, am I going to be lazy after this? Like, when I heal, am I going to be lazy? It got bigger. It got way bigger. Like, I already was ambitious. Now it's a whole nother level. I mean, whoa. I thought that my past trauma was why I was so driven. No. It has gotten way bigger, to the point where I have to constantly self-deprecate to dial it down. I'm kidding.
you're killing me. You're killing me.
I know.
That's a big distinction to make. There really is. So often, people who are in these situations, they're working on their anger. Their anger is what's fueling them. I'm not going to do this to my family what my dad did to me. I'm not going to allow this to happen. And that's what keeps me going every day. For me, it was decades of that, man, saying, I'm not going to be that guy. I had a picture of my dad on the wall, I mean,
Really?
Yeah. If I was having a hard day of getting it done or working out or whatever I was trying to do on that moment, man, forget it. One look at him and I got up and got back at it, because I hated him so much and was so angry about all of it. And you think that's your strength until you realize that when you finally let that crap go, how strong you really are.
Yeah. It's like dragging a dumpster up Everest, and then you cut it and you're like, wow,
exactly.
I'm really good at climbing.
What a great analogy. Let's go with that one. I love that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Let
you.
me, all right, let me get back on course here in terms of the Next Level University, because I am curious. Um, with the way that you work with potential clients who might enter the university or come to you, do you work with people who already have something going? Maybe they are just, they've got an idea, they have sort of a path, and they're trying to refine it and grow it. Or do you take folks who are, I just know I want to do something. I'm not real sure where I'm at. At what point are they ready to come to you guys over at Next Level University?
Great question. And
Next Level U, sorry.
yeah, no worries. Next Level University is the name of the company. I just think Next Level U is a cool pun because it's not about being like me or about you, Rory. It's about being the best version of yourself.
Right.
So I love the Next Level U pun. But I have an Aura ring, and in the Aura app, there's a readiness score. Are you familiar with the Aura ring
I
or
am
any
a
of that?
little bit, only because my wife studies all of this and
Okay,
she
cool.
brings me in small doses.
Okay,
So,
nice.
yeah,
So it
but
tracks your sleep
please.
score and your exercise and all kind. And again, I don't sell Aura rings, so that's not what I'm saying. I just use it every day. Emilia and I, we both have a sleep score we track. But there's something in the Aura called a readiness score, and what it means is you're ready for a really hard workout. You're rested. You've recovered well. Go get a lift in, right? And her and I are bodybuilders. So the point that I'm making is the readiness score, I think, is humility, courage, and vulnerability. That's when people are ready to not to coach with me. So I used to not know who my people are and who my people aren't. And that's how everyone starts, by the way. You don't really know who's your target audience and who's your listener. I mean, I asked you all about your listeners before. And because you're 180 episodes in, you understand your listener. But at the beginning, you just talking into a microphone. You don't know who you're helping yet, that kind of thing. So here's my people, and I'll answer your question after. Here's my definitely not people. Okay, and I used to not have the courage to share this. These are my definitely people. These are my definitely not. My definitely people have high humility, high work ethic, and low self-worth. I can help them build their self-worth. I can't convince them every day they're not God's gift to earth. You know, those people that have inflated self-worth that think they're entitled. Entitled. Yeah. Basically, yep. Anyone who's entitled is not my people because I came from nothing. I work really hard, blah, blah, blah. And I don't like the entitlement. Anyone who wants massive rewards for minimal effort, you're not going to like me at all. That kind of thing. Okay. So those are my definitely people, definitely not. A readiness score is, I think, humility, courage, and vulnerability. I call it the triad of transformation. I'll go quick with it. Heat, fuel, and oxygen. I took a fire protection course back in college, fire engineering. And there's a triad, and you can all look this up. This is fire is in the center if you have heat, fuel, and oxygen. So if you take away the oxygen, the fire will go out. You take away the fuel, the fire will go out. So all firefighters know this. I think there's a triad of transformation. And I think transformation requires high humility, high courage, and high vulnerability. And for men, those are hard because we're not enculturated to have high vulnerability.
Vulnerability is a bad word in most circles. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so my car accident gave me the humility and vulnerability I needed to transform. And the courage, quite frankly, too, because when you face mortality, you got everything to gain and nothing to lose. And so that's the readiness score. So when you ask me about who do I work with people that are ready. And I used to not be able to tell. I mean, I would try to work with everybody. Worst idea ever. I'm in business. Here's an idea. Help the people who don't want to be helped, who the moment you help them, they get delusional and then think they can do it on their own, and then they rip you a new one and leave. Worst idea ever. What I do now is I size you up based on humility, courage, and vulnerability, which, by the way, I did the moment I met you too, and you're high in all three. And I can tell. Now, I wasn't good at identifying that in the past, and I was just doing this with people all the time. The ego bonking that men do of, that kind of thing.
Right.
And we haven't done that almost at all in this. If anything, you're asking me to lift myself up more. Trust me, a lot of men don't do that. They love when I self-deprecate, right? You want me to shine. Yeah. That's not normal, FYI. That means you have high humility, courage, and vulnerability. But as far as the strategic part, my coaching, some business owners, 3 types of people come to me. There's the people who are at the very beginning. So everywhere from a 16-year-old named Micaiah to a 63-year-old who still has 12 years, already a multimillionaire, and everything in between over the years. I've been doing this for 8 years. fitness coach, mindset coach, peak performance coach, life coach for a short time, business consultant, finally landed on business coach because I realized no one pays for a self-improvement coach. But they will pay me to help them grow their revenue, which, what do you have to do? Grow it yourself.
Right.
All right. So I do goals, priorities, metrics, habits, skills, and identity. And once you have all those first 5 in alignment, your goals, priorities, metrics, habits, and skills in alignment, you realize you're not doing it. And when you're not doing it, that's when you got to go into the identity. That's when you do the inner work. But the 3 types of people I coach, the first one is the person who is at the beginning of the journey, who just left their past career and they want to reinvent themselves because the past career was successful but not fulfilling. Okay. The next person is super successful, but they're not fulfilled. So they need to reinvent themselves, stop that train and build another one, or do it in tandem, the 2 train sort of parallel thing. Gotcha. And then the third person is already, and these people are my favorite, a woman named Yvette, already really successful, multimillionaire, tons of success in business, side D, all this stuff. She comes to me and says, listen, I'm already successful. I know that. I already love what I do every day, but I just want to scale it. Right? And I don't want to work 90 hours a week anymore. That kind of thing. Right? So those are kind of the 3 types of people I coach, and everyone in between. Some podcasters who want to start a business, some business owners who need a podcast for marketing and branding, and everything in between. And I've coached people at the very, 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 very beginning that are in their early 20s, and I've coached people that are in their 60s. It's been a all over the map a bit. And now I know the type of person that I like to coach more than their circumstance. The circumstance doesn't bother me. It's the type of person who's ready to receive actual feedback. Because I realized last piece, my job is to help you reach your potential, right? But yet I'm scared to tell you hard truths. Those conflict.
Right.
So the readiness score, humility, courage, and vulnerability is the way for me to identify whether or not you're actually ready to receive. Because here's the truth. The reason why you're coming to a coach is because you are not as successful as you want to be in whatever it is. The reason you're not as successful as you want to be in whatever it is not because you don't already believe enough in what you already believe. The reason you're not where you want to be, as hard as this is to hear, is you are wildly inadequate. And you need to look at those inadequacies. Now, you're not inadequate on a spiritual level. You're not inadequate as a human being. You're inadequate in your skill set, in your awareness, and in your resourcefulness. You're already enough, and you need to get more skillful, more aware, and more resourceful. And so a lot of people don't like to look at where they suck, but that's the reason they're not where they are, where they need to be, rather.
Nice. Great answer, by the way, to all of that. And you answered a couple other questions that I had sort of sitting in the back room, but and that is that you don't just work with podcasters. You work with folks from other industries or, vectors, right?
Yeah, anyone who is an aspiring dream chaser. And lately, I've been honing more to business owners.
Okay.
And I'll give you this. So NLU, PGU, BGU, Next Level University, Level Up Yourself. Podcast Growth University, Level Up Your Podcast. That's Kevin's podcast. And then I'm starting Business Growth University this year, Level Up Your Business. And so he coaches the podcasters more than I do. I coach the business owners more than he does. And we both help. So NLU is sort of learn from us. PGU is build your own podcast in your own community. BGU is build a business where you really have to generate revenue and you have a team you have to lead. Because that's a whole nother level of business too. Until I had a team, I mean, it's really, really alarmingly difficult to lead a team. It really is. And payroll is nuts. Like, I don't think, it's crazy. Because we make a lot of money, right? Our company is doing very well. Doesn't matter. You make $500,000 a year. That's great. But you have to spend 400 of it just to stay afloat. Right? And a lot of people don't understand that. So.
Yeah, until you've actually met a payroll, you don't really own your own business. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, we did that 2.5 years ago, and more than that, really. But the numbers were small before. 17-person team. It's nuts. It's. A lot of people say, well, why do I get laid off? And it's like they couldn't afford you, right? Sometimes you rise. You make a ton of money. It's great. You make $150,000 a year. Well, when the economy tanks, you're the first to go.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
You just can't afford that. It's just wild, right?
Yeah, it's happened to too many of us.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there.
Yeah.
But that's happened
Did
to
well
too
in the
many.
90s, did you?
Oh,
I'm kidding, Rory.
had
Yeah.
a great decade in the
Had a
90s.
great decade in the 90s, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was cold. All right. Yeah. True though. Very, very true. Quickly, if you don't mind me sort of, I guess, just digressing a little bit because, podcaster to podcaster, I'm curious. You mentioned you've used the word, unique a lot in terms of how you deal with your clients. I
Mhm.
love that because everybody's so different. Their needs are different. Their products are different. Goals are different. But are you finding that people are, see, to me, the podcast is business. But not everybody looks at it that way. A lot of people look at the podcast as a marketing piece or as their sales team or that type of thing. So you cover the whole gamut of how to utilize the podcast, I assume?
Yeah, exactly. So let me give you something I call the business star. And so if you put your Rory at the center of this star, these are the 5 things that I teach. And again, teach. We master these, me and my clients that actually want to build a brand and a business
Yeah.
around their podcast. Okay, so the first one is branding. Second one is marketing. Third one is sales. Fourth is client delivery. Without that one, you're screwed. Okay, if you bought a MacBook and it came in a disheveled case and it was broken, you're not going to buy it again, right? So you need to
Right.
have. A lot of people have great branding, marketing, and sales, but they can't deliver anything, right? Other people deliver unbelievably, but they can't brand and market,
Sure.
right? And then the last one's community, and that's a big one too. When you have a community, that's powerful. A community built
Nice.
around trust, integrity, around a core value, that's something. So I can go through each quickly. The first one, branding, who you are, no, what people think about you and say about you when you're not there. You have to name it. The Power Man Podcast. You have to name it. Why when you, I always say this, why when you get an animal, we met Tiger Lily. We found her on the side of the road. She was a stray. Beautiful Bengal, cutest little thing ever. We brought her home to try to rescue her. We fell in love and we named her. Don't name her if you're not going to keep her. I named her Tiger
Right.
Lily. That was it after that. Tilly, for short, Tiger Lily. Why everything needs a name. So people don't understand that branding. There's these hats that I got at Walmart. They're $7 each. They're awesome. Company, Athletica. Oh, I also love their shirts. I'm a simple guy, man. I don't need nice stuff. I'll go to Walmart for my clothes. But Athletica, I'm always looking. So you have to brand yourself. We all know who the jock in high school was. We all know who the nerd was. We all know life is like a giant high school. You have to brand yourself. I always say Tesla should not sell energy drinks and Red Bull should not sell cars.
Totally
Okay.
agree. Gotcha.
Awesome. Okay, marketing. Now this is where people get confused because marketing and branding, what's the difference? Branding is what the consciousness, the real estate that you hold in someone else's mind. Marketing is the target demographic. Who are you talking to? You and I behind the scenes, I wanted to get to know your listeners before I came in.
Sure.
All right, target demographic. What is the message? Meaning 1% improvement in your pocket every day from anywhere on the planet, completely free. Next Level University. Okay. And then, so it's the target demographic. Who are you talking to? It's the message. What are you saying? And then it's the channels. So for us, Instagram and Facebook is 80%. LinkedIn would be next, but TikTok never worked well. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay. The channels. So right now we're on Zoom. That's one of the channels. Okay. Sales. Building meaningful relationships with your target demographic. That is where the rubber meets the road. And instead of I am going to sell you, change it to I'm going to help you. I have a big event, April 5th, coming up. 50 people, 5 groups of 10, totally virtual, April 5th. 6 hours of personal growth. Okay, instead of I'm going to sell you a ticket, it's only $47. I'm going to help you or I'm going to invite you. Okay? And
Yep.
that's actually a real thing. I'm
Absolutely.
not just making that up. Yeah. But I reach out to people and I have a list of people that have come to our meetups, come to our book club, bought our journal. People we've helped over the years, 8 years of helping people. I invite them. Hey, what's happening? Scarlett, I know you listened to the show before. Just wanted to make sure you got the invite. Next Level Live, April 5th. Would you be interested? Boom. If not, no stress. Building meaningful relationships with your target demographic, that is sales. And that is a full-time job. The amount of free sessions I've done, I've
Right.
done like over 400 free business breakthrough sessions. with individuals from all over the world, and that's sales. Okay. A lot of people in sales, I'll give you this too, in business, this is turning a little bit more business than I think you expected, but a lot of people are saying, hey, my name's Alan, do you want to get married? Instead of, hey, my name's Alan, what's your name?
Right.
And then you dance. Hey, can I buy you a drink? Hey, can I get your number? Date 1, date 2, date 3, oh, kiss. Okay, date 4, date 5, date 6, right?
Right.
People are reaching out on LinkedIn, hey, you want to buy my book?
Yeah.
I don't even know you.
Right.
What are we doing, right? So the last piece about sales, you cannot have a level 10 ask for a level 2 relationship.
Makes sense.
It's inappropriate for me to invite you to my event. We just met.
Yeah.
Right? But we have good rapport, so maybe, we'll see. Okay. But I wouldn't do
it.
that. That's just my point for sales. Okay.
No,
For
I
you,
like
it's
it.
probably okay, but
It's
right.
Relationship sales versus the quick close. I absolutely understand. 100%. Yeah. So it makes sense.
Gotta do it. Right? Okay,
Right.
awesome. Client delivery. Now, if my event was terrible, I couldn't build warm leads and I couldn't
Right.
build a community. Fifth one, community. Like-minded people with a similar core value. And we have a WhatsApp group, a tiny example of this. Kevin and I are bodybuilders. We do fitness, and we do fitness accountability group. So we have something called the Next Level Fitness Accountability Group. It's totally free. We've got 32 people in there, and they just post their accountability photo. Because we work out. I work out every day. He works out 5 days a week. And we do it. Accountability. It's free. Now, every now and then, hey, by the way, our event, right? So community is like-minded people who all have similar goals and similar core values. And so if you have those 5, imagine you're dialed in on those 5. You're going to crush it in business. But that's a full-time, each one of those is a full-time job, right? And so doing all 5 of them simultaneously is brutal, and that's why I haven't taken a full day off in 10 years.
There's another one of those. Just bing, there you go. I got it. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I that was for me, and I apologize. I wanted to just kind of ask you how that worked, but my listeners know that I once in a while get off with the sales stuff because it's interesting to me. So I think you guys will give me a break, right? Right?
Oh.
Raise your hand if you're not giving me a break. All right, everybody's good. We're all still good, Al. All right. I love it. Listen, I love everything you brought today. There's a ton that you do and a ton that we've discussed today. So let me give you the floor as we kind of wrap this up, just in terms of time and whatnot. And if there's anything that I didn't ask you or touch on today, if there's anything that you want to have as maybe a leave behind or something that's just sort of on the tip of your tongue and we haven't quite hit it, what do you want to throw out there on one last shot for all of our listeners today? The floor is yours to close us out.
Yeah, first of all, gratitude again. I think it's grateful for anyone listening or watching. It's a noisy world. I don't take it lightly. I hope that you got something really important out of this. And I always give this disclaimer too. Listen, I understand you may like me, Rory, but I know I'm not an easily likable guy for a lot of people. And regardless of whether or not you like me, I hope that something in this conversation got you thinking differently and helped you maybe build a bigger, better, brighter future. So that's really important. The last piece that I hadn't mentioned yet that I do think is just the most important thing, even more important than anything we've said so far, seriously, is self-belief. I talked about it earlier, but there's a way to build it. So people always said adversity is your advantage. And I agree and disagree. Okay. I had a very adverse childhood. I gave you the high level of it, even though it was significantly more than that. And I was able to build myself through that. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of alcohol, a lot of challenges, a lot of this, that. But adversity did become my advantage because it made me aim higher, work harder, and get smarter. But what I've come to realize is that adversity is not an advantage unless you have internal unconscious self-belief. Kevin didn't believe in himself. So adversity was not his advantage. When he had adversity, he would go to escape rather than to aim higher, work harder, get smarter. And so he helped me understand that if you don't have high self-belief, which is known in psychology as self-efficacy, you are kind of stuck and you're going to stay stuck. Why would someone take on more responsibility if they unconsciously don't believe they're capable of more? This is unconscious. This is fixed mindset stuff. Fixed mindset versus growth mindset. So there's a way to build self-belief, but there's a conundrum. The formula is state, prove, self-assign. I'm going to state that I'm going to work out tomorrow. I'm going to prove to myself that I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to self-assign it once I do. I'm going to state that I'm going to sell 50 tickets to this event. I'm going to prove to myself I can do it, and then I'm going to self-assign it once I do. That builds unconscious belief. Not conscious, unconscious belief. So the record playing is I'm a winner, I'm a winner, I'm a winner. What happens when you don't do that because you don't have self-belief? Because if you don't have self-belief, you won't state, prove, and self-assign. You won't say I'm going to get straight A's in high school. You won't say I'm going to go to WPI. You won't say I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Therefore, you don't have anything to prove to yourself. Therefore, you don't self-assign anything. Kevin was an all-star baseball player, and he thought he got lucky. He stumbled upon it. He didn't decide in advance to be an all-star baseball player. And when I found that out, I was like, seriously, brother? Imagine if you tried. Right? Holy crap, I'm over there doing hill sprints, trying to get good. I'm unathletic, hit puberty late, still hoping to. And he's over there an all-star without even trying? See, he wasn't building unconscious belief. When you state and prove and self-assign, you build belief. And then it's, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? So that's the last thing I would end with is check in on your actual level of self-belief when you're alone by yourself in a dark room. If it's low, you got to start small and build. If it's high, you got to work on humility because you're screwed like me and you're going to get hit in the head with a brick.
That's a great mic drop for the end right there. Hitting the head with a brick. I love it. That's beautiful. I love that. Self-belief is gigantic, and I love that you felt the need to bring that into the conversation. So I'm glad you did. Thank you for pulling that in. Very, very cool.
You're very welcome.
All right. Hey, CEO of Next Level U, Alan Lazaros. Alan, thank you very much for being on the program today, man. It was fantastic, and I really do appreciate you.
Rory, keep doing what you're doing. This was awesome. One of the best interviews I've ever had, and I don't say that lightly. Thank you for doing what you do, seriously. And yeah, thank you for having me. That's it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Folks, the reason that we do this, the reason we bring you powerful men like this talking about powerful topics and subjects, especially those about overcoming adversity and finding a way to make it, is because if people like Alan and myself and others can overcome, so can you. You have value, you have worth, and at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.